Okay, so I'm going to review how students are expected to do their CGI word problems. This is one of the problems that we actually did in the classroom with them. I'm going to model this one only because I don't want to do the one that I'm expecting them to do on their own. I went over it with the whole class during our Zoom meeting, but you can definitely review it at home again. But these are the steps. So first of all, we read the story together. They need to understand the story before they actually begin solving the problem. So the first thing we do is we read it. So there are 425 apples in basket A and 381 apples in basket B. Okay, so the story is about apples. There are apples in two baskets, 425 apples in basket A, so we highlight that part. Okay, so why are we highlighting this part? Because it's important information that we might need later in order to solve the math story. Okay, and 381 apples in basket B. So we highlight that too. So these are the two baskets, and each basket has apples in them. Okay, now we continue. How many apples are there in the two baskets? So our job is to figure out how many apples in both baskets. Okay, so the rule is when they solve the problem, they have to show me models. They could do a chart, they could do a number sentence, but they have to show me work. They can't just show me numbers. Now, the reason I expect them to do this is because when they take the state test, the math state test in third grade, this is how the test is set up. They give them a word problem and then they have to show evidence of how they figured it out. Okay, one of the things that I expect them to do is to have labels. So for example, 425 apples. So they could do this, 425 apples. And they can represent the apples using hundreds, tens, and ones. So 100, 200, 300, 400, 410, 420, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So they added a model, which is a picture using hundreds, tens, and ones. And they also labeled it with numbers and words next to it. So this represents one of the baskets with apples. Okay, so this could be basket A. Then we have basket B. So they can label it basket B. And in basket B, there are 381 apples. So how are they going to represent 381 apples? They could do the same thing using hundreds. So 381. So hundreds, tens, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 81. Okay, so there are 381 apples in basket B. So this is the other basket. So far, as you can see, they have labels, they have a model, and they have words to represent what's inside the basket or which basket is this. This is basket A. This is basket B, this is basket A. Now they need to figure out how many are there in both baskets. So there's different ways that they can do that. Once they have a model, they can either combine the hundreds, so they can do this, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700. So they can do this. So 700. Then they could do the tens, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. So plus 100. And then they can do the ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 ones. Now they can add it all together. So 700 plus 100 is 800 plus 6, 806. That's one way they can do it. Another way they can do it is they can make a chart, a place value chart. So this would be the ones, this would be the tens, this could be the hundreds. Okay, so again, they have a chart, a place value chart, and they need to fill it in with the number of apples. So we can begin with 425 apples. So in this case, we begin with the ones, then the tens and the hundreds. So 5 ones, we will go to the ones place and we will draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, then we go to the tens. There's 2 tens. 1, 1, 2. And then hundreds, there's 4 hundreds. So we go to the hundreds place and we draw 400. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we are done. This is basket A. So they need to label it basket A. Then we go to basket B. Okay, how many apples are in basket B? There are 381. Again, because we're doing a place value chart, we're going to start with the ones. Okay, so 1, 1, 8 tens. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tens. And we have 300. So we go to the hundreds place and we draw 3 hundreds. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Then we add it together because our goal is to figure out how many apples are there in the 2 baskets. Okay, so we start with the ones. Now, why do we start with the ones? Because if we get 10 ones, we can trade that for a 10. If we get 10 tens, we can trade that for 100. And if we get 10 hundreds, we could trade that for thousands. Sometimes we need to add thousands. Okay, so let's go ahead and add them together. So ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Tens, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. We could trade this for 100. So we move those 10 tens to the hundreds place and we no longer have any tens because we traded that for 100. So now we have 0 tens and now we have 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800. So we have 806 apples. Okay, so far, if you see, there's 2 different ways that they could do it. They could do this, like I showed you, combine the hundreds, they combine the tens, and they combine the ones. They could do it this way, or they could do a chart. Okay, after they do that, so my requirement to do this is exactly what you see here, that they have numbers and words, which are labels, and they show me what that number is representing. So this was basket A, this was basket B, and it's all from the math story. If they don't want to do it like this, then they could do it like this. And then same thing. They showed me that this is basket A, the apples for basket A. These are the apples for basket B. Okay, 806 apples. Now, whatever way they prefer to do it is completely up to them. I just want them to get used to being able to show work with models, that means pictures, with labels, and with words to show me what the numbers are representing, okay? Once they figure it out that there's 806 apples, oh, one more thing that they could do is they can write, once they figure this out with models and with work, then they can check it with the number sentence. Okay, and my suggestion to them is always write the number sentence in vertical form. So this would be, so 425 would look like this. 425, okay? Some students will write it like this, plus 381. Which is okay, but I suggest that they write this horizontal so that they're able to align the ones, the tens, and the hundreds. So what do I mean by that? This is what I mean. They can write it like this. making sure that the ones are with the ones, the tens are with the tens, and the hundreds are with the hundreds. They can do this once they show me work and models. If they just show me this, it's not acceptable because they're not proving to me how they figured it out. Okay, so 5 plus 1 is 6. 2 plus 8 is 10. I cannot write 10 here because only one digit could go here. So that means I'm going to trade those 10 tens for 100, and now I have 0 tens. So now I have 100 plus 400 plus 300, which is 1 plus 4 is 5. 5 plus 3 is 8, so it's 806 apples. Okay, like I said, we worked on this in the classroom already. So they did this problem before. If you ask them, they'll probably remember when we did this one. It was one of the ones at the very beginning of the school year. Okay, so after they figure this out, then they have to write an explanation where they tell me how they figured it out. So everyone is going to have an explanation that's going to be a little different depending on which model they used. So if they use this one in their explanation, they're going to tell me that they drew a model to represent the 425 apples using hundreds, tens, and ones for basket A and for basket B. And then they combine the hundreds, they combine the tens, and then at the end they combine the ones. So their total was 806 apples. If they chose to do it this way, they're going to tell me their explanation that they made a place value chart with ones, tens, and hundreds, and then they filled it in with the number of apples from each basket. So again, their explanation is going to be a little bit different depending on which problem or which way they decide to solve it. Now, my challenge to them is, yes, figure it out, but always if they could figure it out one way, what's another way that they could figure it out? Okay, so I'm going to show you what their explanation would look like. Okay, so their explanation would be something like this. Sorry, I'm still trying to get good at this. So they could say, I drew, remember they need to indent because they're writing a paragraph to explain it. They can say, so let's say they drew the apples without using the this one, not doing the place value chart. So they can say, I drew models of hundreds, tens, and ones to represent the amount of apples in each basket. Okay, which is this. They used models of hundreds, tens, and ones to represent the number of apples in each basket. Okay, then they can say the models were 425 apples for basket A, and 381 apples for basket B. Okay, what did they do next? Next, oh, here they could also begin with first. So encouraging them to use order words so that they're able to follow the right order, what they did first, next, then, after, and last. So first, I drew models, blah, 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 blah. And then they can say next, I counted all the hundreds. and that was 700. Then I counted the tens, and that was 100. After that, I counted the ones, and it was 6. Finally, I counted 700 plus 100 plus 6, and that was 806. I know that there are 806 apples in both baskets, period. Okay, so this is what their explanation should look like. Now, what I do is I have them sometimes go back and highlight their order words. So first, next, then, comma, is there another one? Finally. To kind of make sure that they did it in the right order. So first, next, then finally. I also have them go back and make sure that whatever they drew or whatever they highlighted from the beginning, it's either in their models, 400. So see how they highlighted 425 apples. So here it is. And 381 apples is right here. Okay, and whatever they highlighted there is usually also in their explanation. Okay, so right here, 425 apples, 381 apples. So the total was 806 apples. Okay, not sure. I hope this helps. Same thing if they were to write an explanation for this one, it would be the same procedure. First, I drew a place value chart with ones, tens, and hundreds. Then I filled it out with the ones, tens, and hundreds, or the apples from each basket. In basket A, they were 425 apples. So I drew 5 ones in the ones, 2 tens in the tens, and 4 hundreds in the hundreds place. Then I drew the apples, or I filled in the chart, the place value chart with the apples from basket B. I drew 1 in the ones, 8 tens in the tens place, and 3 hundreds in the hundreds place. Finally, I added all the apples together, and I started with the ones. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There were 6 ones. There were 10 tens, so I traded that for 100, so I was left with 0 tens. There were 800s in the so now there were 800s in the hundreds place. Finally, I know there were 806 apples altogether. I hope this helped, guys. It's nothing new. It's work that we have done in the classroom since the beginning of the school year. I know it's a little challenging, but you could do it. Okay? And like I said, parents, that's why we usually do one of these at most for the whole week, in addition to Mountain Math and Number Sense, because we usually take a little while understanding the problem, trying to figure out different ways that we can solve it, different things that they could do. and then also writing their explanation. But everyone in the classroom has done this independently for the CGI math problems. I hope you guys have a good time doing it. If you have any questions, you already know what to do. You can always send me an email or a text. Thank you.